Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today's topic is something pretty special.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's about the power of reading and how it can actually help slow down dementia.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating. We're going to be looking at this blog post called The Unexpected Power of a Story, How Reading Can Help Slow Dementia.
Interesting.
And we're going to do what we always do. We're going to really get into the nitty-gritty of the science behind it, and then also give you some really great tips for how to incorporate reading into caregiving, or really any relationship.
I love that because, so often we think of reading as just kind of like a solitary activity, right?
Totally.
But there's so much potential there, especially for people who are experiencing dementia.
That's what this blog post is all about.
Yeah.
The author is a caregiver, and they talk about how they stumbled across this article
Mm.
about the benefits of reading for people with dementia. And it was like a total aha moment.
I've definitely had those moments where you read something and it just clicks.
Exactly. And this caregiver, they decided to try it out with one of their clients, a woman named Mrs. Thompson.
Oh.
Talk about how they stumbled across this article
Mm.
about the benefits of reading for people with dementia. And it was like a total aha moment.
I've definitely had those moments where you read something and it just clicks.
Exactly. And this caregiver, they decided to try it out with one of their clients, a woman named Mrs. Thompson.
Okay.
And Mrs. Thompson was a former teacher who used to love poetry.
Oh, that's sweet.
But dementia had made it really difficult for her to enjoy reading like she used to.
Yeah, I can see how that would be tough.
So the caregiver decided to read some of Mrs. Thompson's favorite poems to her one morning.
Interesting.
And at first, Mrs. Thompson seemed kind of distant, like she wasn't really engaged.
Right.
But as the caregiver kept reading, there was this incredible shift.
Really? What happened?
It's like a light switched on. The blog describes how Mrs. Thompson leaned in, her face softened, and then she said, "That was my favorite poem to teach."
Wow, that must have been so powerful to witness.
It was. The caregiver said it was like a glimpse of her old self came back, and it brought so much joy to both of them.
That's amazing. It's easy to focus on the losses that come with dementia, but those moments of connection, the sparks of joy, they're so important.
They really are. And there's actually real science behind why reading is so beneficial for the brain, especially when it comes to dementia.
Oh, I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay, so get this. This blog mentions a study from UC Berkeley that found that reading aloud actually increased brain activity in areas associated with memory and language comprehension by almost 15%.
15%, that's incredible.
I know, right? It's like a workout for your brain, but instead of lifting weights, you're lifting words.
I love that analogy. And it makes sense when you think about all the different parts of the brain that are involved in reading.
How so?
Well, when you hear the words, it stimulates your auditory cortex. Then, when you're trying to understand what those words mean, it activates areas involved in language comprehension.
Okay.
And then, if you're trying to remember the story or information from what you've read, it engages your memory centers.
So it's like a full brain workout.
Exactly. It's incredible how something as simple as reading can have such a profound impact on the brain.
What really struck me about this blog post is that it goes beyond just the cognitive benefits of reading.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It really emphasizes how reading aloud, even to someone who may not fully grasp the story, can still create this incredible sense of connection and combat the isolation that often comes with dementia.
That's so important. We often think about the cognitive decline associated with dementia, but we can't forget about the social and emotional aspects as well.
Exactly. And, the blog talks about how the familiar rhythm of a voice, the sound of words, even the feel of a book, those things can all be comforting and grounding, even if the meaning of the words isn't fully understood.
It's like creating a safe and familiar space, even amidst the uncertainty of dementia.
That's a great way to put it. The blog has some really great practical tips for anyone who wants to start incorporating reading into their routine with a loved one experiencing dementia.
Okay, let's hear them.
One of the big things they emphasize is being flexible. Finding what works for the individual, respecting their preferences, not forcing it if they're not in the mood.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about meeting the person where they are.
Absolutely. And, we haven't even gotten to the part about self-care for caregivers, which is so crucial, but we'll dive into that after a quick break.
Looking forward to it. It's so easy to get caught up in taking care of someone else that you forget to take care of yourself.
Isn't that the truth?
But this blog really stresses how important self-care is for caregivers.
Oh, absolutely. It even suggests starting the day calmly, like with a few minutes of peace.
Sounds lovely.
Right. Whether it's like 5 minutes of meditation, a quick walk, or just sitting with a cup of coffee in silence.
Just to kind of center yourself before the day gets going.
Exactly. And the blog also talks about embracing flexibility throughout the day. Because, let's be honest, things don't always go according to plan.
Especially with caregiving.
For sure. So they encourage caregivers to be kind to themselves, respect their own limits, and not be afraid to ask for help when they need it.
That's such good advice, and not just for caregivers, I think.
You're right. Knowing your limits and asking for help is important for everyone.
Absolutely.
This whole deep dive has really made me appreciate the power of reading.
Me too.
It's so much more than just words on a page.
Totally. It's a way to stimulate your brain, connect with others, and even find comfort and joy.
And what's amazing is that those benefits can extend to anyone, not just people with dementia.
That's so true. Think about how sharing a story or a book can bring people closer together.
Yeah, like when you tell a friend about an article you read or discuss a book with your partner.
It's a way to spark conversation and share something meaningful.
Exactly. So it makes me wonder, when was the last time you read to someone or shared a story with them?